blood sanctuary. Bloods come here to hang out. I've been shot 4 times, stabbed twice, had more fights than Mike Tyson.
T. Rodgers has been linked to the West Coast Black P-Stones for over 50 years, known as the man who founded the Los Angeles Blood Gang.
With all due respect, definitely not going to be any killing without killing, you know. And I would like that to be clear for the record. I understand the fact that we got police in here. I wanted you to be here to understand what I said.
Today is my day to be the star of the show. There'll be lights and cameras and plenty of action. And old T. Rodgers will be the main attraction.
Shout out to my partner S-Mac and Danielle Gold of Cali Faces. Today I'll be profiling the late great almighty T. Rodgers of the Black P-Stone Nation.
For the dime moves and the lokes, for the 6-4s on spokes, for the OGs that did a dime, came back around on parole, for the homegirls with the scrap game, little homies that gang bang, from Pelican Bay to YA, rearrange your mind frame. Yeah, I know what you've been through, shit you had to go tend to. Your mama gave birth on the turf. I
was the founder. I created Conan Pocket in my mother's garage.
I had a lot of, lifting weights, and I was on swole. They started calling me Big Miz.
Original Stutter Box, Eastside Fire, who's Pebble on Bishop, Mid-City Gangsta Bloods.
Yeah, make video, you know, this is for sure. Yeah, make video, open your soul.
This is from the beginning.
T. Rodgers was born Daryl Vincent Rodgers on December 12, 1956 in Chicago, Illinois, to the parents of Bobby Clarence Rodgers and Alva Hutchinson. His mom was a native of Southside Chicago, born in 1938. His father was born in Little Rock, Arkansas, but moved to the slums on the south side of Chicago, right next door to T's mom, in what would later become known as Blackstone Ranger territory. The Blackstone Ranger street gang formed in the late 1950s on Blackstone Avenue on the south side of Chicago, Illinois. The Blackstone Rangers was founded by 2 teenagers, Mr. Jeff Fort and Eugene Hairston, while they were in the Illinois School for Boys in St. Charles.
But Jeff Fort's criminal history begins when he was just a kid, by almost all accounts, a strangely charismatic kid. He wasn't big, he wasn't educated. Never having gone beyond the 4th grade, he was, and to this day is, a functional illiterate. But Jeff Fort could do something his associates could not. Not only could he lead, he could endure.
In its earliest days, the Rangers was made up of local neighborhood kids who banded together for protection against other rival gangs. The intentions, however, began to expand as the gang turned to profitable criminal activity.
Like a feel of G, hey love, I don't think y'all really wanna fuck with me.
Considered by law enforcement authorities to be Chicago's most powerful and sophisticated street gang, the almighty Black P-Stone Nation continued to grow and grow and grow.
We was everywhere. We was from state to the lake, from 7 to the 11, north, south, east, and west. It was stones everywhere in the city of Chicago.
T grew up just 14 minutes away from the alleged leader, Jeff Fort.
He was just one of a number of leaders of a number of street gangs engaged in a war over turf. Jeff Fort's turf was Blackstone Avenue and 65th Street, where he grew up. And Jeff Fort's gang called themselves the Blackstone Rangers.
T and his family was just a short drive away at 1120 East 47th Street. At a very young age, T developed an affinity for the Ford Thunderbird, and as such became known as T-Bird by his peers. At age 7, he began practicing martial arts and ultimately earned black belts in the disciplines of both Shotokan karate, and Kenshipo. T would grow up fully aware of the gangs, community activism, and the politics that came with it. Growing up in Blackstone Ranger territory, those kind of skills was easily parlayed into gang activity, and that would be the route that T would eventually take. In 1968, when T was just 12 years old, his family packed up and moved to the West Coast, landing at 2924 9th Avenue in South Los Angeles. A young T. Rodgers was quoted as saying, "I went into the 6th grade of Hillcrest Elementary, and some little kid walks up to me and said he was the king of the school, and I better get out of his way. You don't do that in Chicago." So we went at it, and I won. Like so many young black men in the turbulent 1960s, there weren't many opportunities available to T, and he quickly became embroiled in many gang-related conflicts. With the permission of the Main 21, T formed a chapter of the Almighty Black Peacestone Nation, who at the time, and contrary to popular belief, were in fact a community-based and backed organization, and not a lawless gang. Somewhere along the way, unfortunately, this changed. With the help of a couple other transplants from Chicago, T got the Blackstones in LA up and running. The Almighty Black Peacestone Nation on the west side of Los Angeles consists of two totally separate communities, the City Stones and the Jungle. The City Stones turf is often referred to as the Biddy and the home of T. Rodgers, the original area in which he grew up in. And the Jungle Stone Blackstones territory is located in the jungle.
Where we at right now is Baldwin Village. It's the jungle.
The jungle didn't always have negative connotations. Also known as the lower Baldwin Hills area, it was nicknamed the jungle because of its tropical foliage. That was before the white flight or exodus of whites after the Watts riot in 1965. With the opening of the new Fox Hills Mall, many merchants in the area relocated. While living in Los Angeles, T attended Mount Vernon Junior High School and Los Angeles High School. Both schools were home schools in the community in which he lived in school district. LA High School is located at 4650 West Olympic Boulevard near Rimpau, located in the Mid-Wilshire district of Los Angeles. Immediately following World War II, many Japanese families gradually began settling into single-family homes in all-white neighborhoods west of Arlington Avenue and Santa Barbara Avenue, what is now Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. Many of the school kids attended Dorsey High School, LA High School, and hung out with blacks at the Crenshaw Square and Holiday Bowl on Crenshaw Boulevard. With such a large Asian population in the community, T often found himself hanging out on 9th Ave and Jefferson with the Yellow Brotherhood. There was a storefront on the southeast corner owned by the Asians, which today is now a church. The Yellow Brotherhood taught T how to organize and do things a certain way in his community. By this time, T's gang had to compete with the Harlem Crips and the Pico Godfather Crips. According to one local newspaper, during this time, gang violence had been concentrated in South Los Angeles, but there had been a dramatic increase in gang activity in the west central section of the city, an area that includes Mount Vernon Junior High School, Fauché Junior High School, and Dorsey High School. With the emergence of the Harlem Crips in 1972, most of this warfare can be contributed to the Harlems and the Blackstones. Up until this point, the police had only known the Blackstones as the AC Deuces. As far as the Harlem Crips go, they would soon be surrounded by the city, the jungle, the Fruittown Brims, and the Hoover family. During the early 1970s, T. Rodgers hooked up with Big Country and Elgin Trammell of the Brims. This helped to solidify the anti-Crip movement on the West Side. Similar movements were taking place on the East Side, in Watts with the Bounty Hunters, in Compton with the Compton Pyrules, and in Inglewood with the Family. Upon graduating from high school, T enrolled in West LA College and began courses to earn a degree in business and long-term aspirations of becoming an attorney. That dream would be deferred as he knew that it was more prudent to earn money to provide for his family, which was his greatest treasure.
Like a real OG. Hey, love.
In June of 1982, T got married to the love of his life, Miss Kathy Renee Morrell. The two had a residence in Hollywood, California. Their home was a retreat for many of their friends and family, and a place where people could come and laugh, get a good meal, shoot pool, and escape the city life. While in Hollywood, T made a number of friends who were in the motion picture industry and began his acting career. While he found success deep down inside, he knew his true calling was to be the voice of the voiceless and give back to the inner city communities. So with that, he relocated back to the city of Los Angeles.
How hard is it for you to kill a man? But as opposed to how hard it is for you to save a life. More importantly, do you even know how to save a life? No, you don't. But you think you're a gangster.
T, in his own words, says he was becoming sick of gangbanging, but still gangbanging when he met V.G. Guinness. T was at a conference trying to raise legitimate funds for his gang when he stated, "Sick of loving one brother and killing another. You and your beliefs and your values change," he said. "To be put on earth and leave without marking it is a waste of time. I like to be remembered for more than being a member of the Blackstone Nation." Well, he was a humanitarian, father, grandfather, son, brother, friend, author, actor, producer, peacemaker, street legend, gang leader, poet, comedian, musician, director, organizer, consultant, advisor, visionary, trainer, diplomat, and the list goes on. T brought with him a lot of rules and beliefs that he picked up in Chicago.
Everybody wants to be a leader, but how many of you have compassion? How many of you are your brother's keeper? How many of you will say, no, you cannot sex that girl in to make her a criplet or a bloodette or whatever you want to make her, because she is the queen and the mother of the civilization. A race or a nation can rise no higher of their women. So why are you sitting there saying, that's my bitch?
T often proudly talked about having control of his community and a system set up where if you came across Jefferson to the north, they would know it. If you crossed Washington Ave between Arlington and Crenshaw, they would know that too. He often emphasized that this gang was 500 strong and controlled 5 different parks. The parks are where they went to hang out at, and different Bloods would come hang out in the park also. The 5 parks they controlled were Jim Gilliam, Vineyard, Jackie Robinson, Queen Anne Park, and 2nd Avenue. The communities around those parks were also controlled, says T. Rodgers. We would have the meetings in the parks, so we were very visible to the community. Unlike traditional LA gangs that identify with O's, deuces, or trays, the Jungles claimed 5 times. The 5 is for 5th generation. 5 is the number of man, smell, sight, touch, taste, and sound. It's also arm, leg, arm, head, a la love, peace, truth, freedom, and justice. The Stones studied numerology, but according to T. Rodgers, all that was lost after the fifth generation.
They killed some of our homies, so we got to kill some of theirs. But it never stops. That's the way it's going to go. Come on, bro. Well, why you keep whooping, blood? Why don't you just get up and do something? Go ahead, dog. Y'all beat me jumping in the coop with the pistol. We'll set up some about crab.
Crab is a term of disrespect for Crip. Slob is a term of disrespect for Bloods. Even though I'm a Blood, I have a lot of respect for my Crip brothers. It's the younger ones we have to work on.
Boom, boom, boom on your black ass.
T would eventually become a youth director for Say Yes and also a supervisor of their crisis intervention team.
There is a difference between edutainment and education. There's a direct pipeline from kindergarten to the penitentiary.
In one interview with the local newspaper that labeled T. Rodgers a pimp before becoming a drug dealer, T recounts the early 80s when he tried to collect from one of his working girls. She was stepping out of a car, cash fresh in her hand. She eyed Rodgers on the curb, then a nearby rock house. In 1 second, she bolted through the door. I said, if that stuff can take my whore from me, I need to be on its side, Rodgers recalled. T worked with one of the biggest names in LA gang intervention history, V.G. Guinness. He also participated in LA's Long Table with big-name gangsters such as Raymond Washington, Benny Bulldog Simpson, Daryl Little Caesar McFarley, Gilbert Chutes Bell, Dead-Eye Clint, Babyface of the Rolling 60s, a host of Brims, and many, many more. He also worked with the legendary football player Jim Brown and his American program, and became great friends with Keystone Thomas. After seeing the perils of street violence, T got involved as a counselor for youth intervention programs to keep youngsters out of gangs, and created a number of businesses, which included a cellular phone pager shop, co-owner of a convenience store, and ownership of an ice cream truck. However, his greatest pride and joy was his company, Sidewalk University, which taught life skills such as anger management, conflict resolution, and crime prevention. He became affectionately known as T. Rodgers, Ph.D., the gangologist. T was featured on the cover of Feds magazine, issue 3, volume 13. He was also featured on an episode of American Gangster.
In the same block, all of us all about the same thing, and each and any one of us out here could do the same thing. That's true. If I came up at you and threatened your life, you mean to tell me that you wouldn't kill me first? Yeah, ain't no better around here. This is the jungle. The Jungle Queen said the strong must feed on any paired hand. I was branded a beast and I sat at the feast before I was a man.
Through his work as a notorious gang leader and then as a respected community leader, T was approached to work in the film industry, getting his first breakthrough role as Dr. Feelgood in 1987 with Dennis Hopper's now classic, the seminal gang movie, Colors. Since then, T has appeared in many films and television programs, as well as provided technical advising to the 2001 hit Training Day, starring Denzel Washington. Much of the second half of the film was filmed in the jungle. And most recently, BET's reality show, Baldwin Hills. T passed August 19th, 2021, at the age of 65.
Hey, Takbir! Allahu Akbar! Takbir! Allahu Akbar! Takbir! Allahu Akbar! Takbir! Allahu Akbar! Long live the spirit of Brother T.
Amen.
Who run it? Stone running. Who run it? Stone running. Who run it? Stone running.
May Daryl Vincent T. Rodgers rest in peace. Salute.
This is